Hey, welcome back to part 4, which is about receiving yourself as a gift from God. So here we want to talk about what Jesus discussed quite a bit, receiving and giving.
For us, the finances thing is so interesting because it's such an easy way to recognize where people's control center is. But actually, you think of it, oh, well, I don't want to pay. But some people want to pay to get more control in sessions.
Yeah.
So there's this, it's very specified to the person. So somebody might, okay, I'm going to pay for 5 sessions, and now you have to do it at this time and this way, and do it the way I want you to do it, and do it about the topics I want you to do it. You know, if you're somebody that is more about keeping the finances sparse, you might feel the pull one direction. If you're thinking on the other direction, there's other rules that we end up setting up, like, no, you're not going to pay before session. No, we're going to let you know when you should have a session, because we're doing everything that we can to keep you from idolizing us, or idolizing money, or idolizing time, or idolizing anything but God. And so whatever it is, you'll get in your control center, you'll get a little suspicious. You'll be like, why do they care so much about money? Why do they care so much about controlling me and my time? Why do they want to tell me what to do? And trust me, It's always about your control center. And you really are being called to shift that to God and let Him take it over. And once you do, and let Him handle it instead of you being in control of it, you'll discover that we're whole new people. We're totally different than what you ever thought.
And that's good for us.
Yeah.
So we want your healing more than you do.
Yes.
But not as much as God does.
So we will tend to get a little bit of the parental backlash, because that demon, whatever it is, that stronghold, whatever it is that's in your control center that's been holding you back, most likely your whole life, and most likely the whole lives of multiple generations back, doesn't like us. They know who we are. They don't want anything to do with us. So they'll try to project every suspicion. And ultimately, God always works. His love never fails. He always speaks through the garbage and the confusion. And a lot of people make it through, and it's a beautiful thing to behold.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm astonished how many things we see. And we're not trying to say, and this is a great encouragement, is that this whole ministry and this system of thought has nothing to do with blame. There's nothing where we go in and say, you're a bad person, or you're naturally going to think these things. We all have this stuff. It's just part of the epic adventure romantic that God has all of us in. It's all about this love story with God, and He wants to love us by giving us these healings, because He wants us to get closer to Him and know that He has this incredible, unfathomable affection for us. And it's hard to believe that when you're going through suffering. And so the whole plot of the movie of your life is, will you or will you not give that to God? Oh, you did. Will you give that? And so there's nothing in us that is thinking, oh, what a bad person. You got an addiction. There's nothing in us that's saying, oh, they're not willing to cooperate. We're just noticing the patterns, and we see it in ourselves. And part of the reason we know anything about it is because we've dealt with it in ourselves, and we're still dealing with stuff.
Yeah, and it's actually amazingly interesting, the layers of addiction. And there are some addictions that people actually want to get rid of right away because they're not socially acceptable, right? So sexual addictions, alcohol addictions, food addictions. But if you have an addiction to control and like being OCD or anything like that,
I'm not familiar with that.
That's something Dave
Wait a minute.
enjoys.
I didn't say that right.
Yeah. But perfectionism, religiosity.
Could you say that better?
Right. But these are things that people use as badges of honor, and even the way that they're, super skilled or intellectualized, or, I'm very learned. So these ways of controlling our world are actually addictive behaviors often. And we start to go into those, and those demons start to get threatened, and people start to go, oh, my identity is my addiction. And this is why it's so hard.
Oh, surprise, plot twist.
Right. My identity is my addiction, and I'm going to be myself. And the question is this yourself, how God made you before the foundation of the world? Or can you let him in and maybe it's not yourself?
And one of the hardest things to do, actually, is so simple, and that's to be yourself. So one of the things that you might hear us talk about, we have a ton of tools in our toolbox, like you do for the things that you do. And one of the ones we like to do is certain spiritual temperament guides and certain personality tests, which help us immediately know some things right away. And it's not rocket science, just like, oh, okay, you've got a gift for mercy. So therefore, you might have a problem thinking you have to pay for mercy, which is common.
Like what?
Or you're really good at service. So you maybe don't believe God is going to serve you. And we'll talk to clients and we'll say, can you give God permission to serve you more than you serve others? And they'll be like, what? That's not real.
And then you know you've hit something
Yes.
because they're so resistant.
Pay dirt.
Right. So there is this thing, what Dave's mentioning, and it's not original to us. It came from the Bible. Certain people from 80s, 90s now, Bill Gothard and Arthur Burke have really dug into this redemptive gift idea.
Which is a spiritual temperament test.
Right. But we've seen it work prophetically in the spirit. We kind of have our own way of handling it. And we really also look for the ways the enemy is attacking you. And we can really pretty easily find out what your spirit temperament is by how you're getting attacked. Because you always get attacked to the pattern of what your spirit temperament is.
Because that's your great strength.
Yeah. And so there's this attempt to put a wall around you or a moat around you to keep you from using your gift. And those patterns are pretty evident when you start to get to know someone.
You will get hit in any place where you're told not to be yourself and use your greatest gifts that God gave you, because God is living through you and wants to manifest that quality for you to spread to the world. Your presence is an announcement that God is like that quality. Like if you have a gift of generosity, well, God is generous. You see that in the life of Jesus. He's always being generous.
Not only does a person have this, but a nation and a city and a family. And so when you start to see the patterns of trauma, you can usually see the patterns of gifting. And so it's kind of fun to do that.
And people usually like it because they are often shown things about themselves they didn't even realize, and also given permission to be themselves at a greater depth. And it's also, and there's some brain science behind this, that there are certain mirror neurons that get triggered into health when somebody else says it to you. So us, just by the simple fact that we're saying to you, you know, we love that about you, and you go do it, coupled with the fact that we might be hearing from God, usually it's pretty profound, the effect that it can have on a person, because then they feel seen, known, and released to go into a greater calling than they may have experienced before.
So there's certainly this good reprogramming that we're really meant to give over someone, where we release out the curses, the strongholds, the bondage. But once we get those bad roots out, we really aim to release the good stuff. And so, you know, this takes a little bit of time, given that sometimes certain roots can only be released when there's a level of trust. And that's what the process is.
Yeah, the bottom line is it's all about love, and it's love that never fails, and God is love. So the more love is made manifest in these nooks and crannies where we just don't realize we have these unopened rooms in our houses of our souls, then the more we can be fully alive, more fully satisfied, more into our calling and whatever inheritance God is giving us. And there are so many things that are so simple, and then the rest of it is just an organic living out of that life. It's an amazing thing. You know, some of this I've been taught because of what God has shown me. And then when I met Zia several years ago, I went to a whole nother level of being able to hear God and healing. Is every problem solved in my life? Definitely not. You know, but I don't view it like I'm bad. I see myself as a character in a movie, and my story's not done yet.
Yeah.
So there's no judgment on you when you come to us, no matter what issue you have. It's always a matter of, next level of freedom for you, next level of encouragement, next level of rooting on, next level of healing.
Yeah, and there might be a case with some people, has happened before, where they just can't get into their control center. Either they don't see it, they don't know it, they can't go there. When you leave on that note, that's not us feeling as you go like, that person. Really, we often hope that you'll come back, or hope that you reconnect, hope that God takes you on a journey where you figure it out, even if it has nothing to do with us. But yeah, so there's a lot of hope there. And we really do give you a lot of tools in the process. Like, you would learn how to use what we use. Well, it does often happen with people that they adapt it to their own personality and their own way of interacting with the Lord. Another thing that happens in session that's actually kind of fun and cool and interesting is different groups research prophetically in different ways. And what this looks like is either someone gets a prophetic word and tries it out, or gets a prophetic word and a bunch of people try it out. Well, our kind of brand of prophetic research is by group often. So we have a really close-knit group of intercessors in Uncork that are covering and loving in the background the process of the sessions. And they're all very prophetic people, all very alive people, and all communicating daily with each other.
So we have a group in the background that's praying for you, and oftentimes if there's a need, we'll bring it to the chat room, and people will get a very consistent picture of what's going on, and then we'll bring it into the session, take care of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just Zia and I, there's a squad behind us.
Yeah. For instance, right now, in the past weeks, we've had several people that are from Poland and left Poland because of the Soviet bloc situation. And it was like God randomly brought them to us all at the same time and pointed to what situation we were supposed to pray over between Russia and Poland. And all three of them mentioned the same similar story of families coming from Poland to Canada or the United States. And for us, that's a clue to really examine that, and that this is kind of the season where God's healing the land between Russia and Poland, and these families and these patterns in families during that time period.
Right.
And so there was the same time period, there was the same location, there was the same strongholds. It's like this thing where, because of the group connectivity, God is highlighting that. There's also group connectivity in the chats between the intercessors. So one intercessor might say, I had a dream about such and such. And then the next one says, I had another dream about such and such. And they connect. They're the similar type of dream. And then, I had an experience where the Lord showed me this. So like 4 or 5 people at a time can be getting intel where we're really mapping and connecting the dots. And it really brings the clients into a contextual environment in the spirit, where the entire team is really working on not only what they're going through, but you're really part of a bigger picture of what
Right.
Uncork is going through.
And this is very common. It's surprisingly consistent. So the good news for you is that God always has blessings in every season, just like in the natural seasons. There's also supernatural blessings in every season. And so it's nice to be able to get a group picture of what God is doing with a community that says, hey, I'm going to bring you the people that need healing in this situation, because there's a mentality out there that God is really asleep at the wheel, and we kind of have to work on it with our inner healing superpowers. And that's absolutely not the case.
Yeah, so in this place, we just see him fathering us as a family.
Yeah, so it's encouraging because it's not just the support you're getting as an individual, but you're part of a larger team. That's what you get, so that's nice. Okay. That's video 4. We have one more to go, where we want to wrap up some loose tidbits like politics and religion and some other things, and give lots more resources and information, places you can go. It's an amazing time to get healing. See you in section 5 coming up.